There we go. Good morning. I'm higher vibrations and so are you. I said it a little too early. Today on higher vibrations on Soulogy, we're not on Soulogy, but we are doing it through the same platform. And I'm welcoming today, again, welcoming back my dear friend and brother, Jay Zoltan. I call him Guardian. He calls himself Guardian, and I like it because I get to call him what I feel like I should call him. um, Guardian, for those of you who don't know, I put it in the description of this, is you can find the link to his YouTube channel. And we're also streaming this onto his channel simultaneously. Um, Guardian has been on this journey for a really long time and has become near and dear to my heart in many ways. He's a useful and valuable resource in my life, and it's just really awesome to connect with him and kind of compare notes of the current places and moments that we're in. So I just want to say thank you for coming and welcome to Guardian. Hello, Guardian. How are you?
Hey, hello everyone. Thank you. I'm grateful to be here. Also, Merry Christmas to everyone who is in that type of mood.
I'm wearing a Christmas sweater.
Yeah, I also see like Lex is from the Alps, so that's pretty near to me. It's in the middle of the night around here. It's Christmas Eve, so
Right.
happy Christmas to
Technically, it's
everyone.
Christmas Day. It's midnight now, isn't it, for you?
Yeah, like it's over midnight by 3 minutes now, so it's Christmas Day already.
Awesome. Oh, I should add this really quick to so you go ahead and Guardian here um and I were talking about how we have a lot of things in common about like noticing the shift in the planet and some of this Christ consciousness coming in. So that's one of the main topics that we're going to address today. If anybody has any questions regarding this topic, please feel free to type it in, and Guardian and I will both um uh, be paying attention. And I'm trying to add a tag to the Soulogy people so they can find it. Here we go.
Awesome. I see we also have some people joining from YouTube, so awesome to see you guys.
Welcome, everybody. So, to get started, so where are you at again? What part of the planet again?
Yeah, like I'm in Eastern Europe. I live in Transylvania. So yeah. And we are also celebrating Christmas. We had a beautiful Christmas dinner. And for the first time in 10 years we had snow. So
You had
that's that's
snow.
that's historic around here that we had finally a white Christmas. So I'm very grateful for that.
Awesome. The weather on the planet has been shifting quite dramatically for quite some time. I'm one of those people that pays attention because for a while there was people that there wasn't a lot of topics that I felt like I could discuss with them, except the weather is one thing that you could still have. And I've been noticing the planet shifting in a very profound way for quite some time. It's fascinating that so you're having snow for the first time in a historical period where you're at.
I mean, it's historical, like in quotation marks, but more in the past, it was much more common than now.
Mm,
But in the recent decades, it was super rare for us to have snow around this time of the year, sadly.
that's awesome. I mean, that's awesome that you're getting it right now. Well,
Yeah.
I just barely relocated to a place where we don't get snow, so it's a very different experience. Um, Janet's here too. She was been saying hi. I just want to add to so she's thrown out some hello. It's good to see you, sweetie. Mary, Mary. We also have Mooncrest here and Moon and Sun and Moon Rising. Mooncrest says, "Greetings, everyone," and Sun and Moon Rising greetings. Today is so high frequency. I'm a bit dizzy and nauseous. Yeah, and so that's something that I've been experiencing too as we're raising and kind of coming into alignment with our frequency, which goes exactly into what we were talking about previously, is this um we're in this Christmas Christ consciousness, and a lot of individuals choose to assign a label or an individual and a specific person to what this might be, and as many of us awaken, we realize more and more that Christ consciousness is truly what we're kind of um, moving toward. And so, you know, maybe if you like to, Guardian, what does Christ consciousness mean?
Like I'm not an utmost expert in it, but from my experience, like this is not something specific to us, like the Western culture or like Christianity. Like that's just simply a label that we have for that type of evolutionary stepping stone that exists in the cosmos, basically. Like in Eastern cultures, we call it like Buddha consciousness, and I
Right.
also others probably have different types of name for it. But in our Western civilization, we call it Christ consciousness. And like in general, for us, in our culture at least, like I know, like we have the central figure in religion that we call Jesus or Christ, Yeshua, however you want to call it, who basically like his task was to like bring in something new to the collective of humanity, like to give us a template that we can actually integrate and follow in our own lives too, so we can take that next stepping stone in our evolution if we want to go down that road, basically. And
Right.
like I know like many people, if you like pay attention to like history and like old teachings, you will see this pattern of being we having these historic periods when like teachers come and create something huge or like create a dramatic shift on how things work on planet Earth, and like that was one of those times. And now we're like moving into a different phase when like those big teachers came here and like gave us a template, but now it is the time to like integrate those templates that we have received throughout history and actually own them and embody them, or however you want to call it.
That was very well said. Thank you. I agree. It's the way, so as many of you know, I see energy, um and the way that it looks to me is that it's like a web. You could call it a web or a network of roots that are light, and we're all connected, and we all connect to one source point. We call it God sometimes, we call it a lot of different, like you said, guardian. There's a lot of different names. It's so good to see you, Mandolin. I just want to say shout out to Mandolin. I
The
love you
element.
so much, sister. I've missed you so much. It's so good to she says, guardian, you have more hair than me.
Yeah, I haven't had time this week to shave my hair, so
Well,
I have more hair than usual.
it's fitting when she said it too. As I clicked it, then we were talking about Buddhist, and I always think Buddhist monks with the shaven head, and connecting to this uh, uh, um, unified experience of who we are. We also talk about the soul spark, that little flame that's inside us, that is the soul spark, and you can call it a lot of different things. Um, many of our experiences have multiple names. The most important things, I would say, have more names than others, due to so many cultures and regions needing to have an identifier for it. Um, and so we have this place kind of looks sort of like it's teleported from God to be, because it's part of God, and it's like we're like God's finger puppet. And so um when we come through and down into this place and go into this place of the great forgetting or the veil, we in order for us to experience in the most pure and innocent and in the moment kind of way, often we cannot connect with the knowing that we had before. And so um slowly, as we're doing now, gradually moving into this knowing of this of self, and in this identifier of who we are, that we are this higher being of consciousness as one main, like kind of like the Amazon rainforest. You can identify separate trees, but then you realize that they're all thriving as one collective being. When we are returning again, we're doing the breath in right now, because God did the breath out, and we're doing the breath in. Then we're absorbing or merging into our higher selves as well, and then being able to get to that Christ consciousness, or that correct alignment in self and the knowing in self a little bit easier. um, I would say that there were probably individuals who do very much feel or sound like we kind of like try to portray them. For instance, like an individual called Jesus may have been somebody, and like there were a lot of acts that we've all seen done and participated in some way that could even be a past life of your own. These things are real because as above, so below. I don't know if I'm making any sense or if I'm rambling too much, because there's so many elements that I'm trying to get it all in the same spot. Um, However, As we become more and more into, we merge back into these higher selves, then we find this is more accessible. This Christ consciousness, this Buddhist consciousness, this oneness is simply being able to be quiet in self and to be okay in self. That healing that we're doing and that connecting to that purest light. And that's where we're the most powerful. I spent a couple of large clumps of time over the past few months in the void and just kind of hanging out in the void and almost on autopilot as a person called Pamela. And I know a lot of people are going through that right now. And I just wanted to add the last part is I could call that the womb. We go there, when people go there, a lot of us struggle with the idea of it. Um, is that what we're doing is we're recharging and we're recalibrating and reconnecting with our truest self, which is this Christ consciousness, this inner voice, this inner knowing, and then just the confidence is what kind of feels like to me. So that's my
Yes.
ramble. That makes sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah,
So
like yeah.
go ahead, please.
Yeah, like, I just wanted to also like when we can move forward, like we could talk about like how can you like tap into more of your Christ consciousness self, like how to integrate it and how to, yeah, like just as you said, like balance it out in this lifetime as well, because like that's the whole purpose of us being here, of like taking this higher dimensional templates that we already integrated on a certain level,
Right,
or we like already used it somewhere in another lifetime, but now the task is to like rekindle that old flame and bring down that information and anchor it here. Like
yeah,
that's the main point of our lives in general, at least as far as I can tell, is to like remember like who we are and live from that perspective again.
right. And in there, there's no calamity. It's a balance. There are less and less things that could possibly trigger an individual is the way you can kind of measure it easily on a human level. Um, However, those moments that are coming up that are causing that can be a helpful thing that assist you to have a trigger, often is showing us whatever barrier is between us and this Christ consciousness that we're coming into alignment with, and like the theme of the time right now, we're on the healing train, because all of a sudden now the planet, there's actually like three planet souls right now, three earth souls. So it's like, and so like this echo is bringing in all this extra energy for us to heal. And so a lot of people are finding perhaps it feels a little opposite. It feels less than in alignment because of all the things that need to be healed. They're going, yeah, you have everything that you need to heal me. So look at me, pick me, pick me. And you have all this stuff coming up, and it can be a little bit overwhelming. How would you handle, because I know that you and I both have gone through this, Guardian, when these kinds of things happen, what is the most use, if you could be in the place of logic in the moment, sometimes it's hard. Um, what is the most efficient or best thing to do in a moment like that when it first kind of starts to occur?
Yeah, like if you just had your awakening experience, or just like you're new to transformation or transmutation, then it may be a bit more difficult. But yeah, like we will definitely have some more challenges later on too. So
Right.
we're kind of in the same boat, all of us. But yeah, like the more you develop your skill of like transforming difficulties, the easier it will become. Like just like in Eastern traditions, it's like I think they call, yeah, like people have this notion of this concept of, hey, like if you're so spiritually evolved or advanced on that path, then you will no longer experience difficulties, or life is just super blissful. Like it can be, but like the only difference is that like you learn to deal differently with difficulties
Mhm.
rather than like not have them at all, because like we're here on planet Earth and it's a difficult and dense planet. So yeah,
It
but yeah,
is.
like we have to learn to deal with that basically. And like my advice for it would be like transmutation. Like you can use take the dense energies that are like causing difficulties, or you just simply absorb them throughout your day, and like transform them into something lighter. Like a quick tool for that is the violet flame that like everyone can use, or what Pamela said regarding that little spark, that little fire that exists in all of us. Like that can also transform it if you work more with it. Like I call it the eternal fire. I'm not sure if it has like a specific name, but that's how I call it. It's the spark of fire that exists within our heart.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you can also find it in like Christian iconography, I think. Like you have the symbol of the flaming heart or something. And also in Eastern traditions, the heart center is associated with the element of fire. So we have
Yeah.
that fire burning within ourselves, and you can use that to transform density, basically.
How do you expand it? Maybe if you want mind elaborating further.
Okay. Well, I have quite a bit of a few meditations on my channel. We also did on the solstice a group meditation for anchoring more Christ consciousness. And like I always like to begin all the meditations with a thorough cleaning and healing if possible. So before you go into anything more major or transformational, to be as best aligned as possible so you can have the best results. But in general, like there are different ways of accessing that fire within yourself. You can do it through your meditations. I think the best way is to like through meditation, so you can like get to know it, like clear yourself, center yourself, be in a place of peace and calm, when you can just focus and be with yourself, and you can find that flame within your heart. Like you can search for it, and basically the easiest way is to call upon it to like come forth from the depths of your soul or from the center of your heart. And you can also expand it throughout your body, and you can do a lot of things with it. So there are like no hard rules for it, in my opinion. But yeah, like you can try the meditations that I've shared in the past, or try other meditations. Like the way I found the eternal fire inside my heart is by working with the violet flame for a
Yeah.
few days. And all of a sudden, the violet flame just went away and turned into something else. So I was like, wow, like I've never heard of this. But yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, it's not an unknown thing. It's just not something that many people talk about in general, in my opinion.
Right.
But it's one of the most powerful things that we have in ourselves. Like it's our connection to source, it's connection to our higher self, to the central sun, and it has the power to like bring down heaven to earth, basically, like bring down all the source energy here into the body and like extend it and do wonderful stuff with it. And I think like that's also what Christ consciousness is like the ability to like being healed and cleared enough to like call down the energies of the heavenly realms and like perform miracles,
Yeah.
which are basically just manifestation of cosmic law, if you know how to use them.
Right. Yeah. Very well said. And I love that you pointed out the changing of the color thing of that part. I got hung up for a long time, so I bring it up a lot because it's useful to know that um, it will change color and to let it. It doesn't need to be any specific color. You can, like um, the violet flame example. When I first started to work with the violet flame, um, I found so there's like it's in your heart like your breastplate. This place here is there's a lot that goes on this bone. It's like it looks like sacred geometry meets hieroglyphs that are like neon lights. For me, the way I see it, it's really crazy and it moves and changes. And so when we unburden self, when we get it off our chest, when we speak our truth and let it out and let it become and go, then we open this place up, and so we can access this easier too. So speaking of like, just hanging out with a buddy and telling your story, or doing something like Guardian and I are doing, makes this more available, and it's easier to connect to that if you're struggling with it. And the other point was that when I first started to do this, it the flame was white, and I kept wanting it to be violet. And then when I really willed it to be this violet flame, yeah, and it became large enough where I could kind of see it like flickering in front of me. Um, then I observed that it was as multicolored. It was like a rainbow, depending on different parts of my body. And I thought that I was doing something wrong. Um, and this went on for some time before I finally asked Guardian. And Guardian has been like a guide and a mentor for me in some of these things that I've been doing and just didn't know what I was doing and thinking whatever I thought about it. And so finding that out, you can start with with whatever you want to, and let it be what it needs to be. So like it's really cool because it does have its own mind, and I've found that I've had energies meet me in the flame when I've been able to make it large enough. Um, Usually a representation of a somebody that you would consider a Christ-like energy, a loving guide, someone with grace and love and service in their heart to assist us. And so that's the last thing I wanted to add, is that I had the same experience as other people where energies just were showing up in the flames with me, and it was startling at first. I didn't expect to have another person there, and so um, though Guardian had told me of an experience where he had something like that happen before I did, and so it made it easier, I would say, when I had my experience, that there was some another energy that joined me in the flame, that because he had said it happened with him, I kind of expected it a little bit, so it wasn't as startling. So that's why I'm telling you guys that story. But
And for me, it hasn't happened since, but
yeah,
it can.
it can.
Yeah, and I also the idea came up like yeah, like if you're like working with the heart center energy, and you were also talking about the maybe pressure or like stuff happening in the chest. Like whenever you start to work with basically like de-blocking your heart center and healing it, like it can be challenging because all the nasty stuff that you've been hiding from can come to the surface because it needs to be healed basically in order for the heart center to properly open and for you to properly utilize that source of power or however you want to call it. And yeah, like in some traditions it's like all like this things are barring the gate from opening properly, and it's usually like it can be grief,
Right,
fear of something like a trauma, for example, or just simply limiting belief systems regarding yourself. And especially like it can be cliched, but it's true, like your belief systems regarding like love, of you being deserving of being loved, or you just like being afraid to show or send love to others or to express your love. If you
right,
like have fears regarding that too, like that is something that can super like block the heart center, like if you have these negative belief systems and you if you function from that perspective, because it's unable to function properly and do its thing.
right,
And yeah, like if you're in that place, it can also like manifest physically too, like maybe subtler parts are like anxiety or stress, I may be having panic attacks, or maybe like some kind of mystery heart condition that can develop because
right,
you're blocking the proper function of of that part of your body basically.
right. Yeah, that's a good point too. There's a lot of individuals who are noticing this physical symptom right now, and
Yeah,
it's
like the heart palpitation stuff, like I mean that happens anyways, like when we're going through upgrades.
yep,
But if you have all those blockages too, like it can be even more amplified because like your poor heart has to like work overtime
yeah,
to like compensate for all the stuff that are like stuck there and hindering it from properly functioning.
yeah. And it's I would say that that specific physical symptom is the most difficult to, in the moment, to be at peace with, because there is this knowledge about, heart cardiac difficulties and stuff, and there's a physical issue. So if you do have anything that you feel like you want to have checked out by a doctor, do by all means do so. Um, though it's useful to know, so many of us are having this heart activation, this where some of the heart palpitations that I've had, I could feel in my lowest rib, like it felt like my heart was down there because it was just like bum 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 bum, and it was just really intense. Um, it's useful to be in the community that I'm in, like, connecting with people. Um, is that I can compare notes and find out that that so many people simultaneously have it in those moments, and that reassures me. That like we have a Telegram group, and people will say, "I'm having a crazy heart palpitations." Anyone else, and I'll go on there to say something like that, and you'll see there's already been 15 people saying, me too," and from different parts of the planet. So it's like, okay, cool. And then you go and you find out we just had a CME or solar flare, an earthquake, Schumann resonance spiked, lots of different things going on. And so there's usually an outside thing you can point at and say, okay, I can be reassured. Um, this heart center activation is the most profound, I would say, because we are having. This is really this again the heart the soul spark, this area here is where all the energy is meant to come in. Most of us have been pulling it down through here, at least I had. And then not too long ago I started getting guided to bring it into the heart center. I guess this was back in June. um, and pulled the source light, the central sunlight, the Christ consciousness into the heart. And then it goes in the other direction, the other ways. And that's why we have stagnated energy that then causes a lot of this heart palpitation kind of stuff, is that it's kind of stuck up or blocked. Um, and it's highlighting parts of us that need to be healed, while we're simultaneously finding ourselves in a different part of the cosmos, so we're more activated here. I'm just seeing a lot of really cool stuff because I'm living on top of a gigantic crystal now, and so I get to see what it looks like from a different perspective. So I'm just curious because, Guardian, you're um in you're pretty rural though, but your Transylvania's got some pretty deep energy out there, I would say, wouldn't you?
Yeah, like I haven't really explored or like followed up on all the weird stuff, but we do have like strange places like where I don't know, like paranormal stuff happen, or like they're like notorious, or some kind of legends or folk tales like are connected to it because like weird stuff happened there.
Yeah.
But I know like the place where I live on a hilltop, and yeah, like this is a very peaceful and cool place. Like I really like to be here. Like this is the best place since I lived forever. Like this is awesome here. But
Cool.
yeah, and like the other interesting stuff. Yeah, I know like in the last time that we talked together, we talked about like the Hungarian mystics and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
I just found out some interesting details again.
Awesome.
Some weird synchronicities. Like there is this writer who lived, I don't know, like maybe 100 years ago or so. Who was like very preoccupied by this topic, and he also like wrote many stories and folk tales regarding with these Hungarian mystics. And like I only read like one of his books, but he had some pretty cool stuff in it. So I don't oh, this is just me having presumptions. So I don't think that the guy just collected all those data. Like he had some things there that I think the only way you could know it is that you actually know that. Like that's the only way you can write those stuff down, in
Right,
my
right.
opinion.
Definitely.
And the interesting stuff is that I found out, I think like a month ago, that that person like lived there on the mountain top 100 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
Like there, I think it's like 200 meters away from us. There was this leftover of it was a fortress like hundreds of years ago, but it was like rebuilt to be something that is usable basically. And like before the communism, it was used, I don't know, by some landlords or something. And like the where we live now was part of that castle basically, but after the communism, it was like chopped up in different parts, basically, and like sold to different people. And I found out that that person, that writer, like lived in the castle, and like where we live now was part of the terrain of the castle. So
Oh
we live
my,
in the place where he lived 100 years ago. So what an
you
odd coincidence that I moved here too.
you live on the land of the mystics. Of course you do.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Wow. And you just found that out.
Yeah, I just found it out. I think like 2 weeks ago or so. I was at some kind of oh, how do you call those when someone publishes a book and there's like a festivity of like presenting the book or something?
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
a book tour.
yeah, a book tour or something like that.
Yeah.
And they also had some information. It was some kind of I'm not sure how to call it, but basically they had also gathered some folk tales and like different types of historic things regarding this region. And like they also mentioned this that that person actually lived here. And I just found out that he's buried in the village next to us. So I
Wow.
was like, wow, like what a coincidence. Like for some reason I moved here
Yeah, there's no
not knowing
coincidences.
all
You know
these
that.
things.
Yeah, I mean, you would it's cool to notice right now, especially the past couple of years, the people that we're talking to, every one of us is in some special place on the planet. Like we're just drawn there. And many of us are like all of a sudden feeling like our roots are coming up, like we're about to travel. There's this feeling a lot of people are having. I would say because of what you're talking about, Guardian, is that you're meant to be in a specific spot, and it it's time. Like I know it's in different places of the world. Not everybody's feeling what I get to feel right now and see, but we're here. We're on New Earth. It just I mean like something shifted at like 11 last night. Big. And like it's here. We're freaking here. Like it's done. It's simply allowing ourselves to access that Christ consciousness, that inner knowing, that self, that still silent voice or whatever, um, and to feel it. And one thing at a time, allowing ourselves to not have to see what we expect to see, but instead just be open minded enough to let whatever's there to be seen. And then we find out that some of the things that we've just expected were always going to be there weren't really there anyway. And a lot of that stuff is the 3D stuff. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, like we have, I think like one of the most crucial parts that we can do like during the awakening journey is like trying to work with our expectations
Yeah.
and like trying to like calm them and not wanting things to manifest in the way that we want them to, because like most of the cases like our higher self or like source or creation like has way cooler stuff in store for us than what we could imagine.
Yeah. Every time. We're preparing for a quiet picnic for two, and we it turns out it's like the best celebration gathering of all time. So the level of excitement, anticipation of what we're going to get to have is yeah. Our imaginations don't usually take us to where we get to go, and what we're doing right now.
Yeah, because we like don't have we haven't experienced or like received the necessary information to even like go there mentally to or to imagine it.
Yeah.
But on a higher level, we already have that. So
Yeah.
that's where like trusting the process comes in, which can be super scary. And I think even for the veterans, it can be scary sometimes when there's like a huge shift on the horizon, and you're like, oh, like how is this going to play out?
Right. Right. Or you pucker up everything and just hold on and see what happens.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, here we come. Yeah, so I see another person that also experienced the same thing last night. Diane says, yes, something big happened last night. Yeah, it was it started to come in and started to come in, and then it's been here for a while, but everything in spirit happens gradually. It's always meant to be that way, and so like we've been it's like echoes, and everybody experiences it. So you say you got a percussion wave and it starts in the center, then these rings, these concentric rings that happen, the individuals that are out here will feel it after these individuals here, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to feel it. And so like anyways, this has been happening for some time, but what happened last night was the finale of this other stuff. And so now we're moving an emotion out of it, like we're pulling our feet from mud in some cases. That there's a sticky as you're raising your frequency up. And the best guidance that's coming through about that is that's why it's this time of year, because this is typically where people are permitted more than normal to go in and go within. Like Guardian's talking about meditation and the importance of this. A lot of us, I would say myself included, have pulled away maybe from the more regular practice of meditation over the past several months, and we're kind of being called, okay, go back to your meditation space, and pull away from the energy outside you a little bit. A lot of people have gone AWOL or into hibernation. Like for instance, the Soulogy network is just so you, if those of you don't know, is um taking a break until the 8th of January. And so people like me that are just persistent, I'm going to keep doing my show. Um, and we'll just do it through our own social media platforms until then. Um, Most people are being called into this type of hibernation because we need to also have the sigh in our breath. We breathe as one unified being, but we also need our unique breath and to pull in and to allow all of the energies that aren't actually you to fall away, you know? Like, so, Guardian, this is a good topic, a good question, because I had the same experience. I recently spent 6 weeks in the most metropolitan place I've ever been. I was in the middle of Houston, Texas. There was almost 3 million people, and I was in the middle of the spider web. It sort of looked like a spider web when you pulled out. It was crazy. I'm like, I'm in the middle of a spider web. Um, anyway, so in a more densely populated place, just like when you were in the city in Transylvania, it's a different series of tasks that you can do in order to find your own energy again. To know what your energy feels like. What did you do at first? I remember it was your guidance that I really started to talk about this. Pulling
you
away,
know,
find out who
finding
you
your
are.
own energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like get away from that place. Yeah, like get out in nature, like spend at least like 1 week away from all of that noisy stuff at least. And like just get a sense of like who you are without all the excess information like flooding all your senses, basically.
Right.
Because like even if it's like the city is silent or something like that, they're like we're constantly like bombarded and like enmeshed and no like submerged in this huge flow of information and impulses and on all levels, like not just like things that you can hear or see, but you have a lot of radiation there. And also if like many people are like packed together, like everyone is sending out their own signal just as you are or I am, and like you are together with all those people and you're exposed to each other's fields basically.
Mm.
So everyone's, if you're like super sensitive to it, then you can feel other people's problems, like it can like come through the walls. Like you can't see each other but you can feel your neighbor's problems, or
Right.
like their patterns may come through, or just like a simply a bad vibe or something that is like disrupting your own functionality can come through. And yeah, I also remember when I lived in the city that I loved to like take walks during the night,
Hmm.
because like people were mostly asleep, and that meant that their mind was calm and it was silence outside. Because like when you have all these busy people running all around, like you can see it obvious in the physical too, but they're like their busy minds are like constantly like emanating this noise, this static that is always in the background, which is can be very draining after a time. So
Right.
doing regular maintenance on yourself and clearing all that crap out is super important if you live in a densely populated place.
Yeah. And finding out who you are through that process. For example, this is my experience, is that um, I'd forget that I'm not an irritable person. I'd forget that I'm not somebody who has anxiety. And, those could, because those projections of those energies were so pronounced that I just learned to, that I got used to it. And I forgot that wasn't my energy. And then when you're able to pull away, at least for a time. And I would do the same thing when I was in Houston. I'd go for walks at night. I was told not to, but whatever. I needed to go. I needed to, dude. Like, if this was my survival as well. And um, allowing ourselves to be in that quiet, in that space, in whatever ways possible. I remember your prompting, Guardian, that, if you can't ground, if you can't go someplace that there's dirt, that there's an element for you to connect with, there still is. You can connect with the wind,
Mm.
and um, it's incredibly useful to do this. I didn't, I hadn't needed that. When you first told me that, I actually felt kind of sad for you. I was like, oh, that's really sad. But it turns out this was actually
That's the
really
only
important.
thing you have.
Yeah. And it works. So, allowing yourself to do it. I want to point out Charmony here. Charmony's she's always in tune with the energies and experiences I'm having. She's posted a couple of things here. This is Diamond Heart 888, Charmony. Yes, it's done since solstice. For me, huge shifts through massive mastery, initiations, and clearings. I felt soul pour in after, feel lighter sense. Of course, mega clearings and purge going on. Keeps going. You know, um, that reminded me today. Hey, it's 444. Today, at the just almost the stroke of it going into the 24th, was really when I started to see clearer. Um, and as a lot of people know, this particular solstice. So the solstice in the northern hemisphere is the longest night of the year. The sun is down the longest amount of time. Typically, I've never heard this until this year, and Stacy had taught me about it a few weeks ago or something, is that this particular solstice lingers until the 24th, meaning that every night is equally long, the 21st, the 22nd, the 23rd, and so we have these 3 days of darkness, and that people talk about. And that's just fascinating to see and to have felt it. And then when it shifted, it was officially out of those 3 days of darkness, kind of a thing leading into Christmas. Isn't that fascinating? I just thought that was really bizarre. I
Yeah, I can't wait for the day to become longer.
know.
I'm
Me too.
not sure like how much does it shift each day. I think it's only like 2 or 3 minutes, or maybe even less. That the day is longer a bit,
Yeah.
so something to look forward to.
Yeah, starting today or starting tomorrow, I
Yeah.
guess is how it works. You get the sun rises 1 minute earlier and sets 1 minute later every single day until June 20th or 21st. I'm not sure. It's different every year. I need to look it up, depending on where you are on the planet as well. So that's really cool.
Mm.
In the darkness, this is the place where most of the healing is done. And so that's why so many people have noticed their shadows coming up. And so it's useful to keep that in mind. You're not being attacked. This is just so they could say this is the place for clearing. It's this is the things that need clearing. Um, Post another one from Charmony, but she's just awesome. She's a really good cheerleader. I love it. We're in the finale, and there's so as these things come forward, as we are starting to let ourselves do these meditations and to kind of understand what our own energy feels like, um, then what? What is the next course of action that you would take once you kind of figure out who you are, you're starting to let yourself heal. Do you have a point or a goal in that, or is it simply knowing what you just need to do for your moment because it feels uncomfortable?
I mean, uncomfortable or comfortable? I haven't heard that.
I'm sorry, my I guess that was kind of a strange question. Is when we're doing these healings and these
Mhm.
what guides you to do your next step? Is it because it feels natural, or is it to lead to go to get away from what doesn't feel like you belong in that energy anymore? That there's discomfort because it's not in alignment with your frequency, or
Mhm. I think like the more you heal, the more clearer it will become like what you should do next. But yeah, like I think it's our guides and our higher self, like they're doing an awesome job of like trying to like assisting us in navigating this whole difficult process of working on all the uncomfortable stuff. But yeah, like you can also like take breaks during it and like simply go with the flow, because even like if it's something very difficult, like it can take quite a bit to like work through it. And that process means that we have this type of fluctuating way of how we go about it. Maybe some days it's like super intense and you're like doing great work, but then it's you're very tired and maybe you can take a few days off or focus more on yourself and just grounding and enjoying life so you can like recharge for the next round.
right, right.
But yeah, like in general, I think like go with the flow if that's the best way of going about it. And yeah, like just do regular maintenance on yourself of like working through all the density that comes up through each day. Like some days it can feel a bit overwhelming because maybe that day it's a great time to work on more stuff, or maybe that day there's some kind of alignment that can help you get through a lot very quickly. And
Hmm.
like we usually feel those days very intensely. Like just in the past few periods when we were talking about all this heaviness and like fatigue and dizziness and stuff coming up,
Hmm.
we are getting upgrades, and sometimes when we're in that state, like all the nasty stuff can amplify, because it's something very similar to how our body functions with its immune system. Like if you're good energetically and you have a lot of energy, then your body has a great way of suppressing all the little
Right,
stuff that it's is like I know like mini viruses, bacterias, and stuff like that, and you don't even notice because you're it's just working automatically. But as you start to like become weaker and more drained, then your body has no longer that excess energy to suppress all the little stuff. So
yeah,
all of a sudden you get sick, or all of a sudden something very strange starts to affect you, and like that can happen on an emotional level too. Like when you're like very drained, then things that haven't bothered you that far will become bothersome, or I don't know, it will irritate you. And it's basically like pushing your buttons to show something that, hey, like you're irritated or triggered by this something because it's still not healed or it's still not in its place. Because like if you've already healed that specific aspect of yourself, then basically that trigger will no longer trigger you. You
right,
could still see it and experience it, but it would not be triggering. Just like see like, oh, okay, like I see like that's now happening. Okay, like maybe I'm not enjoying it, but I'm not triggered or upset by it. And I know that maybe 2 years ago I would have been, but now
right,
since I healed through it, I'm not. I just simply observe that it's happening, and okay,
right.
let's move on.
You brought up a very important point too, that there's different types of healing. Um, you didn't bring the way it was worded. It reminded me to say we're talking about trauma healing. Guardian was very perfect at pointing this out too. Is this type of healing is what I was. Oh,
No, we can't see
there we
anything.
go.
Oh yeah.
All right, so
Yeah.
um, with this one, the example is we started up here, right? And so we have a bubble here. We're calling this the thing that needs to be healed, the trauma, right? And or let me rephrase this. This is the trauma. There we go. And we as we spiral through, we come over and we heal it. We're like, cool, I just healed it, and then we go along our way, and then we come back around, we're at a deeper level. We're at a deeper level of the same thing, and so lots of times we're like, hey, dude, I thought I healed that. You did. You healed up here. Great. You did a good job. Now you're doing this because you can, since you've taken care of that first layer. And sometimes there's so many layers to it, it can feel really frustrating. We can feel like, didn't I do that already? Didn't I already do that? Yeah, you did, and you did great. There's just now you can access the next big boss in the video game, and so um, allowing yourself the gentleness and the encouragement that good job, you did this work, and as it surfaces, like Guardian says, the triggers are actually gifts. There was a culture that of people that for a while there, if something was triggering to somebody, they would say trigger, trigger, and that meant you're supposed to stop. I find that though I don't do it on purpose, triggering people is one of the best ways to help them heal. It's a service to other people, and Diane mentioned this really useful thing. I want to point this out just for anybody who hasn't noticed, and we talked about it earlier in the show. You might not have heard. Guardian here has done a really awesome group meditation a couple of days ago for the solstice. She says, I did Zoltan's meditation video today. Was so good for the soul. I let go of all concerns and just let go on a deep level. I feel renewed. Thank you for sharing that, Diane.
Oh, thank you for joining and doing the meditation.
Yeah. And for anyone who hasn't, you can just go to Guardian of Orion's channel or Jay Zoltan's channel. I have it linked in the description of this video. If you're not joining from his channel, I see some of you are. Check it out, dude. He's got a whole bunch of different meditations. I'm actually going to post that Violet Flame one that Guardian and I did together. I was just sitting there doing meditation with him, and he was the one talking. But I've heard a lot of really good input about that we sharing the energy as this group. One thing about Guardian's group meditations or any of his meditations is that they tend to be timeless. What that means, I find, Guardian, when I do a meditation that you've done, when I go back and do it a second time or a third time, is that I find the echo of my own energy from the times before. And all of those who had done that meditation in the group, and then all those who had done it on the replay are joining me as I enter that space. And so you can go back to a meditation that was done months and months ago, and it's more impactful sometimes because there's more energies that are already. It's because when we do these meditations, what we do is we go to a place, a time, a place, then we go back to that same time. It's like an astral thing, kind of. And we go back and we go back and we go back. And so, anyway, I highly encourage any of you go check out Guardian of Orion's channel, Jay Zoltan's channel. I'm sorry, and check out some of these meditations. Well, I didn't get a chance to do the meditation yet. I'm actually planning on doing that tonight. It's gonna be my Christmas Eve quiet thing that
Christmas
I'm gonna do.
meditation. Yeah. Yeah, it's quite long. I'm not sure. I think it's like 45 minutes long.
Awesome.
Yeah, because the first part of the healing and clearing, I think that took up at least like half an hour or so.
That's cool. What can a person expect from this particular? What was the theme of the meditation?
Oh yeah, the theme of the meditation was anchoring more the Christ consciousness self, or like activating your solar body. Because basically the human being is a representation of the earth and the sun. Like we are the micro representation of what is happening out in the cosmos.
Yeah.
Like our body is made of the substance of the earth. We're part of planet Earth. Like we are made of her substance, basically. But basically the light of a star is burning inside of us, that little spark of fire that is within our hearts. And we have the potential to work on that and expand upon it, because like everything is within us basically. But you have to consciously work with that in order to amplify it and actually embody your Christ consciousness self or your angelic self, basically. Like in certain traditions, like they consider the human being part of the angelic hierarchy. Like we are basically, we can become embodiments of higher beings in physical form, basically. Like that's how the human being, what that's the purpose of the human being, basically, to rise to that level and embody higher, basically to embody your higher self in physical form if you want to go down that road.
Right.
And that's like the cool thing about us humans, basically, because we're in this like perfect middle point of like the highest high and the lowest low, and like it's up to our free will choice. Like, do you want to rise above the all the lower and dense stuff and like embody your higher self, or you can fall below and embody great darkness too. And we've seen those stuff here too on planet Earth. So
Yeah. And to allow that shadow to integrate. Oh, speaking of shadow, I got to tell you something. Not only is the new moon on 111 on January 11th, but it's but Christmas Christmas is a full moon. Not only are people getting together with family members that they may or may not like who are usually drunk, but it's going to be during a full moon, Guardian. So y'all hanging out with family out there, just prep yourself, do whatever kind of prep you need to do.
I mean, I always do my protection work before family events.
Yeah, dude. It's shielding from
I
your
love
family
my
is
family,
good.
but they have a very erratic energy to them. So
Yes, yes. Especially right now, no matter what's going on in in a person's brain, they are feeling what we're all feeling. They're feeling it and they know. I would say it's kind of more carnal, like animal like, because they don't know why they're freaking out. They just know something's happening, and so knowing that something's happening without knowing what it is can be alarming. But just, oh, it's gonna, and so you're gonna have this erratic energy from individuals who maybe don't have as much information as we do right now about the awakening experience and so on. So they can be more erratic.
or just in general, yeah.
Yeah, or just all the time because they are. You're right. Alexis is also Cancer full moon, so emotional stuff. So we're gonna have emotional stuff. Yeah. Um, and this is to allow it for it to purge and for it to release. My best guidance would be to not take anything personal. That whatever comes through for others around you, I mean, it's basically dodgeball. You don't want to get hit by it, but if you happen to be around it, don't take it personal and just do you. It's got nothing to do with you. Um, and guess what else? Before I forget, as Guardian mentioned here, the central sun, and these little sun beings are coming in more. They're really fun, excited little energies. They're like little kids, but they're really wise. These energies are coming in so much right now. So connect with the sun, and they'll help you and assist you to just skip through whatever things going on. I find that when I connect with these little souls, these sun soul energies, that I'm very childlike. Like I'm just at play and it doesn't matter because nothing does matter. It's just about vibration. It doesn't really matter, so
Yeah,
um,
like we're experiencing all these like solar storms, and yeah, like we're bombarded with a lot of solar energy. Like
right.
that's what's is triggering our change as well, and it can be super overwhelming for the body from time to time. Like it even messes with our electronics and magnetic field. So, and we are made of water, and our body's also working on an electric, kind of in an electricity basic. I think like the nervous system is very
Oh yeah.
electric, basically. Yeah. So it's also affecting us as well on the physical level too. So I always receive the info that the best way to like counterbalance that is to like work as much as you can with Mother Earth, because like she's the grounding energy, and like the sun is the masculine energy, and Mother Earth is the feminine energy, and
Right.
try to like balance out the two to have a more pleasant experience with all these shifts and changes that are occurring on all levels.
Right. Yes. And as you're talking, I was looking for something. I can't find it. Uh, someone had, maybe it was from my live I had just done earlier. Someone had mentioned that there we just got hit by 3 more big solar flares in that moment or to today. So I was probably on my other live. I'll have to go look and find that comment. But you can look it up really easily. Just solar weather or solar flare today, and you pull it up. In the Telegram group, I typically will post these things in the our Telegram. If anyone's interested, there's I haven't put the Telegram link in this particular one, but I will in the description when we're done with this. So there's a lot of outside things that are coming to assist us, allowing yourself to utilize them and they're all coming to help you out. It's all good. Oh, here we go. Thank you, Sharmini. She says, yes, 3M class solar flares today, just today. M is pretty big. M is, you can call it medium, I guess. When we get an X, then an X class flare is one of the strongest ones. We've been getting a lot of those too. And as those are coming in, it's a more gradual example of, because all things in spirit are cliff notes, so they shorten the message down. It's the great flash. It just doesn't happen it's not as disastrous as people are interpreting the message to be. We're in it right now, so it's good. I'm really excited.
And I also should be leaving soon.
Yeah, we need to close this up. Guardian, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, 1:04 in the morning for him. Guardian will be joining me about once a month to do a show together and have any kind of whatever the topic is of the moment. If anyone does have any suggestions or requests, please contact me and what I do is I usually throw some topics in on a list and Guardian and I kind of pick from that. So if you have anything you'd like us to cover, please send me a message, email me, Telegram, post in this video, or in Guardian's on Guardian's side, you can comment in his comment section on this video, and if that's okay, Guardian.
Yeah, you could totally comment on my videos.
Okay. And let us know what you'd like for us to discuss. Thank you so much, Guardian, for coming today.
It's awesome to be here, and it's our first Christmas together. So.
Yay! Merry Christmas!
Yeah, Merry Christmas. We never done a live event on Christmas so far, so
We
this is a
haven't.
big milestone.
Merry Christmas to you and your lovely family. Thank you for
To
joining
you
us.
and everyone else as well. Thank you very much for being here, and have a beautiful Christmas, and see you, I don't know, like in 2 weeks or so. Not sure.
That's right. We'll see you in the new year, right?
Yeah, see you. Yeah, it's, oh my God, it's already, yeah, it's next week. Oh my God. Time is flying by quickly. So,
It's so fast.
yeah. So, see you guys next year, basically.
See you next year. Love you.